Hello and welcome to the channel. First and foremost, thank you so much to everybody who's subscribed since the last video. It is truly heartwarming and is really inspiring for me that so many people would like to follow this channel and hear what I've got to say. So if you have any suggestions what you'd like me to cover, then let me know. Anyway, today I've come down to the canal, as you can see, because I want to do dragonflies in flight. It's a little early in the morning still here for them. They tend to come out about now and they will sit around and warm up on the weeds along the canal here, and then they become active and start hunting insects. So I thought I'd give you some tips and tricks for how to hopefully be successful with getting dragonflies in flight. So slap on that factor 50 and come along and join me on this trip. So I've come to this area of the canal, and this is sort of tip number one. Use an open body of water. Find where the dragonflies are on this open body of water, because it gives you a much clearer view than if you're inside a forest, which I wouldn't even attempt with dragonflies because you're going to lose them, you won't be able to see their route and whatnot. Whereas if you're on a body of water, then they'll have a very clear route, either circular or more elongated as along here, and this gives you a much better opportunity to be able to focus on the dragonfly and for the autofocus to sort itself out, and then you can get some nice shots. So spend some time to assert exactly where the boundaries of the subject that you're currently tracking, where those are, because then you can place yourself at either end of this route, and then you can, or rather that gives you the time when it's at the far end to start focusing, and then you can track your subject as it comes back, and hopefully your autofocus will then sort itself out. You'll be able to get the sharp shots that you want. So there is a dragonfly hovering around here. It's going back and forth, so I'm going to see if I can get some shots. It's hovering quite a bit rather than just flying back and forth, so I'm hoping I might be able to get some hover shots. Just got to wait for it to come back. There we go. So tip number two is obviously shot speed. You need really high shot speeds for this. I have been lucky with quite low shot speeds as well, but I definitely wouldn't recommend it. I hope that sparrow didn't eat it now. This is going to be a short film. The sparrow ate my subject, so I better go home. Sorry, I was in the middle of talking about the shot speeds. So I would recommend at least 1/2500 and upwards. At the moment I'm shooting at 1/3200. And you got to be a little bit careful with doing that, because most modern cameras will have in-body stabilization, and that could affect your the sharpness of your picture. So you got to try out a little bit what's going on with your camera at such high shutter speeds. I know this one doesn't do all that great once I go over 2500. It might be something to do with my hands as well, obviously. So I just find that I am more lucky with the shots if I am on a without image stabilization when I'm going really high. You know, I do think that that sparrow actually ate my subject. Oh, there it is, there it is. Whew. All right, we can continue the film. So you'll notice I'm more or less in the same position, and that doesn't have anything to do with the film camera being on a tripod. It's more to do with the fact that with dragonflies, they'll have their territory as talked about, and I try and position myself at one end of that, because once it's gone down and it comes back again, it's easier for me to start tracking it when it's far away, and then as it comes closer, I'm then able to have the focus locked and I can take the pictures that I want. So the one that I'm tracking this morning is actually hovering quite a bit though, so that helps a lot if your subject is a little bit more still than at other times. It is getting decently warm here. We're supposed to get 22 degrees, I think, today. That's centigrade. And so I might actually... the other thing that is happening right now, I don't know if you can see it on the water, is that there is there's a little bit of a breeze today. And this is a great tool to use when you're photographing dragonflies. Of course, there can't be gale force winds, but if there is quite a breeze or a bit of a breeze, then as the dragonfly hunts, it's better if you can then stay, what would that be? Upwind from where it's coming, because then it's going to struggle to move forwards because of the wind, and that makes the subject a little bit easier to track. Dragonflies at best are difficult, but this makes them maybe a tiny bit easier. Do not stand downwind, because they'll just be woof past you and you will have no chance whatsoever of locking on. So in terms of lenses, there is a degree of is never long enough, but I think with dragonflies you're going to find that it's really difficult if you have too long of a lens. This one is an 800, but it's a zoom lens, and I can do obviously 600 if I want to, and I find that that helps quite a bit in order to be able to find the subject in the viewfinder. Somewhere around 600 millimeters is perfect. If you can then additionally zoom after you found the subject and maintain focus, that's going to help. But I once tried with a crop sensor camera, so I was almost at 1300 millimeters, and I absolutely could not find the subject. Here comes the canal boat, so we're going to have to wait a little bit. Also, you'll notice it's a bright day, and that allows there to be a lot of contrast in the scene, and that also helps the autofocus of your camera to be able to pick up the subject. They are fascinating creatures. I get distracted all the time. I mean, did you know, for example, that the dragonfly's wings are independently mounted, and this allows them to brake in midair and change direction as fast as they do. Other insects have their wings mounted to the same muscle. They have independent muscles to control the wings, and of course this makes them absolutely terrific hunters. So we've gone through location. You want to be near a lake or a canal or some sort of water, because it's much easier to follow the route that the dragonfly is hunting on. And going through the shutter speeds is really important to have super high shutter speeds, because they are very, very fast, and to get sharp pictures you need a really high shutter speed. And remember, the longer lengths that you have, the higher the shutter speed needs to be as well. And we've spoken about the lens, which you want to be at least 600 millimeters for this kind of dragonfly photography. If you can do a little bit longer as an optional, that's also good, but if you can start with 600 millimeters, because it gives you a much better chance of being able to find the subject in the viewfinder. And we've also covered the fact that you want to really be at one end of your dragonfly's path, so that you have much better opportunity when it's coming towards you to get that headshot that you are looking for. A bonus would be if the dragonfly is as placid as the one that is right out here now, because it has been hovering quite a bit, and that's been really helpful in being able to get some footage of it and also some pictures. So obviously if you can find one of those, that's great. And I don't know, maybe it is because it is a slightly cooler day here. We're probably at around sort of 18 degrees centigrade at the moment. So maybe it makes them a tiny bit slower, but they are hunting now, definitely. But it really does help that your subject is hovering, because it gives you the opportunity to focus on it. So I think we'll leave it here. I hope you've enjoyed this. There's one final thing that I want to say, is that if this is your first time wanting to photograph dragonflies, and you are now inspired to go out and see if you can find one in your local lake or something like that, the most important thing to remember is that anything counts as a success to begin with. I mean, just the fact that you are able to find the dragonfly in the viewfinder is a great step towards getting sharp images. So be happy about that. Don't get frustrated and like, oh, it was unsharp. Well, okay, but at least you saw it in the viewfinder. The next step up from that is obviously to manage to focus onto it. And remember the things that I mentioned about try and find a place where the background is relatively uniform. Yes, it's not uniform here, but it is uniform enough. If there were too many flowers of different colors and whatnot, the autofocus would just struggle, and you'd get frustrated because you wouldn't stand any kind of chance. Also, try and find a subject that stands out against your background. I wouldn't be able to shoot here if it was a brown one. I'm happy that it's a an emperor, golden emperor, because it's got a blue body and some yellow on it as well, and that helps it stand out from the green here, and again gives the autofocus more of a chance. So these are important things if you're really struggling with this. And yeah, once you manage to start getting some sharp shots, maybe they're not quite sharp enough, increase your shutter speed first and foremost. That's really important. And do remember about the in-body stabilization in the camera, because that might interfere. So on mine, when I'm shooting them really fast like this, I've turned that off in order to give the camera the best chance of getting a sharp image. But I'm sure there is a lot of you that may have different tips for how to shoot dragonflies in flight. So what are your best suggestions? If you put them in the comments below, other people who find this video and want to learn how to shoot them, then they'll read the comments and your tips can help other people become better at shooting dragonflies in flight. So do that, and if there are things that you think I should cover more, maybe we can make a follow-up video on this and try and get even more tips out of this. But I wanted to make this relatively short. It is summer, it is beautiful, people don't want to sit inside watching videos, they want to go out and take lovely pictures of dragonflies and other subjects. So with that, thank you ever so much for watching. I hope this has been useful. I hope you've enjoyed the images, and until next time, take care of yourselves, enjoy your photography. Bye for now.